Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a first impression follow-up. I have had a bunch of products set aside that I wanted to give you my follow-up review. We're going to move quickly. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. And in these videos, I touch base on products that I either hauled or I used in a first impression, and I'm going to tell you my final opinion if I recommend them, if I think they're just so-so, or if I think they are shit. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a bang. This is phenomenal. These are the Sephora Pro Face Palettes. The shade medium works for me if you're interested, you guys. First of all, read the reviews on Sephora. There's not one negative review. I can't see how anyone would give this a bad review. It is absolutely gorgeous, heavy, huge, looks expensive, blends perfectly, super pigmented, just beautiful, beautiful shades in here. So in each one, you get an array of bronzers, blushes, highlighters, kind of highlight toppers. It's absolutely stunning. The deep one looks so beautiful for all of my deep-skinned people out there. I'm telling you, it's gorgeous. I just can't imagine, like when I saw it online, I almost wanted to get it for me and I was like, okay, calm down, but highly recommend. This is gonna be an A+ for me. Packaging, just overall presentation. When I saw it online, I was like, ooh, that's a little pricey. When you see it in person, you know why. Blends beautifully. Just read the reviews. I will link it down below, but you guys, whichever kind of palette goes for your skin tone, I cannot see you being disappointed. So this is a yes, yes, yes. Next, I want to talk about the IT Cosmetics. This is the oil-free Your Skin But Better Primer. I really like this. It says a gripping base and a pore refiner. For me, this is more smoothing. I don't necessarily feel like a gripping. When I think of a gripping, I'm thinking of like the Cover FX gripping primer, also the Sicily primer, also the Milk Hydra Grip. Those have the tacky base. This one is more just smoothing, I would say. It's not typical silicone. It kind of has a little bit of a gel texture to it, so it definitely has a slip to it. But to me, this is like a really nice gel moisturizing smoothing primer. If you're super dry, you're gonna have to moisturize before this, but I do like this. I find myself using it. I've kept it in my top drawer and it's something that I've been enjoying. A primer that I'm a little bit iffy on is the Kaja primer. What is this even called? The Dream Puff Radiant Mousse Primer. At first I thought this dried down pretty heavy, but upon using it more, it definitely does have a little bit of a moisturizing base behind it. My issue with this is that it does give you a nice kind of light radiance. I don't know if you can even tell there, but it's not smoothing. So for me, and it's not super, super hydrating. It's kind of in between. So for me, if I want like a really hydrated dewy base, I would go for the Tatcha Dewy Cream or the NARS Radiance Primer that's really, really hydrating. This is just kind of like, it kind of does dry down. It leaves a little bit of moisture, but I feel like once I put my foundation on, you can't really see it. So I'm undecided. If you're on the fence about this, it's not blowing my mind. I would say it's a so-so product. Moving on to a couple products that I like, one more than the other. The first one is the Jeffree Star Concealer. I think this is called the Magic Star Concealer. I really like this. I like how smoothing it is and how thin the formula is. Now, if you have heavy, heavy dark circles, this is not gonna get the coverage that you need, so I would go in with a corrector first and then use this. I like this a lot with powder foundation because it is so thin. It's not whipped moussey. It's so thin that it just kind of, I don't know, smooths out, and it works really well with powders. So I do like this. I have the shade C6. It's a little bit light. Honestly, trying to restock this stuff is really annoying because his shit sells out so fast. So I haven't bothered with trying to get a deeper shade, but I do like this and I do use it probably more so for natural days, but I find that it's just enough coverage to get me through on a natural day. And I just like how smoothing it is because I cannot stand when concealer comes down here and I have like really accentuated my pores. That's something that I skip. So coverage, so-so, smoothing, and the way that it blends, really nice. In terms of the powder, I do like it. I'm not blown away, but I do like it. I have the shade Fair. The scent is a little bit strong for me. I've mentioned this before, but I'm not really good with scent, especially in powders. I find myself inhaling them and actually coughing. So it's something that I wish wasn't there. Like I love the Coty Airspun. The scent drives me insane. The scent on this, it's nice and light, but when you get it close to your nose, which I do to bake on the sides of my nose, I have actually coughed multiple times. As far as the way it sets, this reminds me almost of the Wowder from, what is it, Glossier. This is not a drying powder. It's very thin and it does a nice job of looking natural. It's not brightening for me, even in the shade Fair, and honestly, I prefer my Maybelline Fit Me. So if you're looking into this, I don't think it's bad. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but it's nothing, you know, much different than most other powders. So I do like it. I will use it and keep it in rotation, but it's not something that I think that you need to run out and get. Moving on to a couple products that were a miss for me. This is the Juvia's Place I Am Magic Matte Foundation. Upon first applying it, I didn't notice really that it was smoothing. It didn't really make me feel like flawless. It had a good coverage, but there was some sort of like texture or caking on the skin. I would say it was a 6 out of 10. Like, I would have worn it again if I had to, but I would definitely not reach for it. I had the shade Ibiza 530, and I'm just like, it just didn't wear good. It looked patchy. I just didn't feel like it was kind of like a long wearing foundation or super smoothing foundation where I felt like, all right, even if I can get 5 hours, I really like it because it's smooth. I didn't feel either of that. So for me, this was a miss. Also, the concealer, again, okay, you know, the coverage was okay, everything about it was okay, but it wasn't smoothing. I didn't notice, oh my gosh, the coverage is amazing. It didn't make me look flawless. And let's be real, we're all trying to look natural but flawless, even though those two are very different. I want to look really smooth. I want my texture to be erased. I want my blue veins to be erased. And for both of these things, they covered, but with kind of a film over my face, and I just felt like it was heavy. I didn't notice anything spectacular. I looked in the mirror and thought, I have makeup on and I don't really love it. I kind of want to take it off. So both of these are just kind of a miss for me. I wouldn't say they're like, oh my god, they're terrible, run, but I would not tell you to pick these up. There's so many better products out there. A foundation I really love is the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie foundation. I have the shade MG5. This is a beautiful foundation if you like matte. So if you're looking for a dewy finish, I would say skip on this, but this is a nice long wearing foundation. It's nice and smoothing. It's almost like Estee Lauder Double Wear with a little bit more of a natural finish, meaning that it's not as I don't want to say that the Estee Lauder is paint-like, but it kind of is. It's a thin formula and it really just kind of spackles on and stays on. This is a little bit moussier, a little bit more whipped, a little bit thicker, and it just kind of blends a little bit better. The Double Wear, I feel like it's like thin and you put it on and it's like spackle. This is a little bit more forgiving, but again, you're going to get long wear out of this, so I really like it. I'm always looking for coverage, smooth, you know, natural, long wear. Those are the things. Why do I say natural? Like, I'm really not looking for natural, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want it to look like I have gunk all over my face. So I really like this. I feel like it's a beautiful foundation. And I think for me, I like to really kind of do up the dewy products before because it is matte and it just ends up looking satin or skin-like, even though I have a full coverage foundation on. So I really, really like this. I would highly recommend it. And I also like how you can have the, you know, the wand here or the doe foot, because they say you can use it as concealer too, which you could, and it also has a pump. So I just go straight in with the wand so I don't have to get it all over my hands, and I really like it. So I would recommend this if you like a matte finish and a good coverage. Another nice foundation if you like a matte coverage is the Frankie Rose Matte Perfection Foundation. I actually did some work with them on some Instagram posts, so I got to try a bunch of their products. This is a really nice foundation. I have the shade here Neutral, and I've seen JD Wadey rave about this, and this again reminds me kind of like the MAC Studio Fix. It's a good matte full coverage foundation. It hangs on for quite a while and it just wears beautifully. Again, it's smoothing, it's not going to make you greasy, it's not going to break up. Gives me a good probably 8-9 hours to wear before I touch up. So this is a good staple product. Again, kind of like the MAC Studio Fix. It's like, that's something that I feel like I can always go back to. It was probably one of my first foundations, like full coverage, that I wore maybe when I was like 18 going to the bars, and I feel like I can make that work at any time. It can feel a little bit heavy, a little bit, you know, dramatic because it is a matte foundation, but it wears beautifully and it looks beautiful on the skin. Also from Frankie Rose, I did use their Our Little Secret concealer. Now I have the shade here Neutral. I ended up getting a lighter shade as well. This is a really creamy concealer. Again, a medium coverage, but it's hydrating. If you have dry under eyes, I feel like you would enjoy this because a lot of concealers I've noticed are moussey and whipped and they almost kind of set down to a powder and they can look really dry. This one doesn't do that, but again, you're not gonna get full coverage. You can build, but this just has a creamy texture. So I don't know, it's a thin formula, but it's really, really creamy and it blends super nice. It reminds me almost of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. Very on par with that. This one's a little bit more liquidy, whereas the NARS is a little bit more whipped, but again, it has that really hydrating effect to it. So if you have dry under eyes, this might be one that you want to check out. Moving on to a palette, I have the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette here, which was her first palette, I believe, that was a full-size palette that she did, I think for $65 with smaller pans, which I am a huge fan of because, as you guys know, there's so many new palettes coming out. Truly, you cannot use all of these colors unless you are somebody that buys one palette and you rock with that palette every day. But for people like me or people that have a big collection, you feel like you want all the new stuff, but you don't want to spend $130 per palette. So I think this is great. First of all, something about mustards and yellows and purples, I'm telling you, is absolutely stunning. I've always been a fan of that. Something about mixing these jewel tones, it's so beautiful. This palette is gorgeous. It blends beautifully. My favorite shades in here are the two yellows because I have become kind of like a lazy bitch and I like to use one or two shades and roll. I did a video with this, I can link it down below, but this is beautiful. I've seen nothing but rave reviews and my experience has been really good with this. I've only used it maybe 6 or 7 times because again, I have so much makeup. I'm trying to use palettes as much as possible and I just kind of find myself gravitating towards the mattes. A lot of the time I use mattes and then I'll put like a pigment on my lid, or really I'll just kind of rock with like kind of a highlighted face. So I really like this. These shades stand out to me the most, which are the mattes. I haven't played with the shimmers as much. The shimmers are okay, they're pretty, but again, I've kind of become accustomed to like a pigment, but I think for $65, you will really like this. If these are your colors, or maybe you're a neutral person, but you're thinking, maybe I want to step out a little bit, but I don't want to go for the hot neons, this would be a good one to check out. A palette that blew my mind, and I did a video on this as well. This is the big ol' Morphe 39S, which is the purple palette. The original palette in this format blew me away, so I think it's the same formula. This is an absolutely stunning palette. First of all, these purples in here, I mean, if you like purple, pink, romantic looks, this is your palette. These center shades here are almost like ColourPop, what is it? Super Shock shadows. They have a bounce to them. They're creamy. They're almost like toppers, right? So they're really iridescent. So these are going to be the ones that you kind of like, why am I doing this motion? But you kind of stipple it or press it onto the lid and it just gives you that iridescence, or the inner corner. I've even used this shade to highlight the face. It's gorgeous. The mattes in here are pigmented and beautiful. And then you can see you do have kind of the typical metallics in here. If you're wanting something like a little bit more punchy and you're thinking like, well, I don't want just those sheer shades, you do have the metallics here. So you can see there's like a mix of iridescent toppers, metallics, and the mattes are beautiful. If you want to see me use this palette, I will leave it down below. But a lot of times if I want like a neutral look, I've been using kind of just the browns in here, maybe just a little bit of the purple to give me a little bit of color, but this is stunning. I think it's beautiful. I kind of hope they go on with the series here because this is, you know, the purple one. I want to see all colors, right? This is a big palette, but if I'm telling you, if you like cool tone purple pink looks, you will dive headfirst into this. I have a few products from Huda Beauty to talk about. I'm going to start off with the Contour Tantour Bronzer Creams. So I tried this in a video and had a rough experience. I think that I just am not a cream bronzer type of chick. I've seen a lot of people really like this. I literally almost just flew it across the room. I was like, whoa, I've seen a lot of people like this. And so I ended up using this to really contour out the jawline. I didn't do it today because I'm literally lazy as hell. But I use this a lot of time. You can see I've kind of put a little dent in this bad boy. I have the shade Light, and I just use it to kind of contour under my jawline and bring it down to really give me kind of like a chiseled jawline. Or if I feel like my self-tanner, wow, get it out, Babs. Or if I feel like my self-tanner is just kind of lighter on my chest and my foundation isn't matching, I'll use this. So I really, really like this. It has a protective layer, and I actually just chucked it because I like to live on the wild side. But I do really like this. I think I need to try it again on the face. For me, it was just a little bit patchy. Again, it almost turned more patchy once I put powder over it. I think for people that like cream products, I've seen a lot of people really raving about this. So I found a use for it, but again, I just need to play with it more on the face. For me, it's more of a jawline contour and I use it for that purpose. A product that I originally didn't love from her because of the shade range and now I've been really enjoying are these matte lipsticks. I love the packaging. These are really pretty, kind of sandy nudes. Right here I have Staycation, very pigmented, almost like a powder type of formula. I mean, they are matte, but they're not the dry tugging. They're almost like the MAC Powder Kiss formula. I have the shade here, Anniversary. Again, these are just beautiful, creamy nude shades. These are a little bit of a gray undertone, I will say, but for some reason I like these shades a lot more. And then I also have Spring Break. I don't want to swatch it because it's going to freaking stain me, I already know, but I use this in a video as well. So these shades are much, much better in my opinion. They're creamy. Most matte lipsticks, if you're thinking about like ABH or you're thinking about Melt, those really drag. These are totally different. They slip perfectly and they have a powder finish. So they're still matte in appearance, but they're a little bit more comfortable. So these shades are beautiful. If I had to recommend one, I would probably say Staycation, which is this one right here. So I have a product here that I just cannot get past the smell and I'm gonna move quickly through it. And this is the Huda Beauty Resting Boss Face. You guys, I just can't get past the smell. It is so strong and perfume-like. It's literally like taking a Burberry or a Versace or whatever perfume, Dior perfume, and spritzing it on your face. It's not a refreshing coconut or, you know, I don't know, cucumber. It's just perfume and I just can't get past it. I know that it has, you know, alcohol or denatured alcohol and all that, which a lot of setting sprays do, but the scent honestly makes me feel a little bit nauseous and I get a headache. So unfortunately, this is going to be a no for me. I wish it was unscented, kind of like the Morphe setting spray, because I feel like people would have received it better. But it's just so strong that I just can't get past it. I have two mascaras to talk about. The first one is the Milani Dangerous Lengths. I love this. They sent this to me and I fell in love. This is really lengthening. It has such a light wand too. A lot of times, like with the Milk Kush, I think it is, mascara, I feel like I really am working like it's heavy. This is very light and it just grabs onto the lashes and really gives you length. Did you like that demo? I can do it again if you want. But I really like this. I really like this a lot more than high end. So I would highly recommend this. If you want to check it out, it's at Ulta, but I would repurchase this. This has become one of my favorites. Now that I think about it, I have two mascaras that I decluttered. One is the Tom Ford Emotion Proof Mascara. Tati raved about it and I picked it up and I think it was like 50 bucks, maybe more. And it was so clumpy. It literally was so clumpy and it did nothing for my lashes that I was like, what? Like, why did I just spend that money on it? I was so disappointed. I've even had a couple of you guys comment below because I did use it in a first impressions and say that you had the same experience. So that's going to be a no for me. It was literally so clumpy. It almost felt like it didn't have a stopper. You know when you have like a lip gloss or a concealer, it has kind of that stopper to kind of get excess product off. It felt like it didn't and it was so chunky and clumpy that I just couldn't even like wipe it off. It was just a big no. The wand was huge. It just did nothing for my lashes. And I also decluttered the Laura Mercier, I think it's called Caviar. It just didn't do anything for my lashes and I feel bad saying that, but it just really didn't do much for me and I need all the help a girl can get. So those were both misses for me. I have two highlighters I want to mention and I tried this out on camera. Again, I'm going to try to link these below, but this is the Lunar Beauty Moon Prism Powder from Manny MUA and I do really like this. When you swatch them, they do feel, they kind of have that powder feel, almost like the Dose of Colors highlighters. They're very kind of thick and they really come to life when you really work them in and you get that wet reflection. So I like to buff these in. My favorite is Mars. It looks peach in the pan, but when you use it, it's like really icy pink on the skin. So I really like this. Just know that it's a powder formula. It's not like, I'm trying to think of what, it's not like the Amrezy highlighter where there's no kick up or anything like that. It's a thick formula like the Dose of Colors I Love Sarah E, and you really got to buff it into the skin and then you get that high reflection. A product that I'm really disappointed in and I'm actually really shocked is this new Dior Backstage Glow Face Palette in Glitz. I've used this like 3 times now and I really want to return it. Something about this is so lackluster to me. I don't know. It just looked terrible. I can link the video. I used it down below. I don't want to say terrible. It's just like didn't do anything for this price. And I am obsessed with their original. Literally obsessed. I've used it so much. It was such a good investment for me. This is just a no. It's a hard pass. If you're in between both, go for the original. And if you're thinking about this, skip over it. There's so many other highlighters that are just like better performing than this. I was really bummed out. I texted my friend who's a YouTuber and I said, do you love the new Glitz palette? And she goes, no. And I go, oh my God, me neither. And she goes, I'm returning it. And I was like, so am I. So we both were just kind of like let down from that. I really thought there was no way. Like I was like, there's no way. I love the formula. I don't like it. Quickly want to touch on the Patrick Ta glosses. These are the, I don't know exactly what they're called, but they're the Patrick Ta lip glosses. The two that stand out to me are Is She Younger Than Me and She's Expensive. I did pick up a couple of these and then they sent them to me. The one that I like the most is She Younger Than Me because it does have a little bit of a pink kind of tinge to it, so it shows up a little bit more. What I will say about these is they're comfortable, they're not super sticky, but they are so sheer that I feel like you don't need all of them. I would grab one of them if you want to. They have a nice minty smell to them, but I do like this one. It looks really juicy, like really wet and juicy. The shimmers, I don't necessarily see that much, but they do, I don't know, something about it. It looks really, really juicy on the lips. I don't know if you can even see. It just looks like a high shine gloss, very like natural glam. If you're looking for something with pigment, I would say you're not gonna like any of these. If you want more of like a pigmented glitter gloss, there's so many other ones on the market. This is more of a wet, high shine look. So if you're gonna get any of them, I would say Is She Younger Than Me? It's really pretty, but again, don't expect pigment really. Next up, I wanna touch on the Jeffree Star Blue Blood eyeshadow palette. So this palette is super beautiful in presentation, super bright, super blue, as it's called, the Blue Blood. I think this is a beautiful palette, but I have to say, just upon how much I'm going to be using blue eyeshadows, I kind of regret this purchase just because it was like $65. And now that ColourPop is coming out with those little mini palettes for like $12, I would just highly recommend going for something like that unless you wear blue every single day. This is an extremely blue palette, which it didn't claim not to be, but it's really kind of hard to get anything but a blue. I'm talking like a Mimi blue look. And I just feel like it's not versatile. You're either doing like a navy smoky eye or you're doing like a bright pastel blue look. There's really only one kind of neutral in here and then these two light shades that are so light they're not going to be transitions. So I like it, but I don't reach for it because how many times am I going to do a blue eyeshadow look? And I just feel like you're so much better off spending 12 bucks on the little ColourPop ones. You get 9 shades, you get all the blues you need to make really the same looks as this. And I think they have like every shade, like green, yellow, all of those. So I would recommend those. I can link the one I'm talking about down below, but I just feel like this is such a targeted palette unless you're wearing like blues every day. It's just so expensive. Last up, I had to give a shout out to the Huda Beauty neon palettes. The neon pink and the neon orange palettes are so stunning. They blend beautifully. Just be aware that the toppers or the metallics are very thin. They have that topper-like formula. So they're not thick metallics, very opaque. They kind of give you an iridescence that kind of just goes over the eyes. I don't know how to describe it, but you can see that. They're just iridescent, almost like a topper, a jewel tone topper, whereas the mattes excel in this palette. They're absolutely stunning. I just think these are such adorable palettes. The packaging is spot on beautiful, and these are just perfect if you want to kind of step out and just do 1 or 2 shades, something like I have on my eyes right now, and just be done with it. These are so pretty, so I highly recommend. The only one I would skip out would be on the green one. So that is going to do it for this first impression follow-up video. If I missed any products because I'm still testing them or your girl forgot. So comment down below if there's something that you're like, wait a minute, you didn't update us on. Just comment down below. I like to stay active in the comments and I will respond to you and let you know my thoughts if there's something that I missed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I like to keep it pushing, keep it moving, and go quickly, give you my thoughts, and move on to the next because there's so many products. I don't like to sit here for 20 minutes and talk about the same one. So hopefully I got my point across. You guys got some full reviews of products that you were kind of eyeing or wondering what I thought. So that is everything for today. I would hope you subscribe if you are new here, and thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.